I am a proud new partner of Car Marshal. If you are interested in a new or used car, please click on the link in my description box below. No credit check, no cosigner. That's Car Marshal. Before his presidency, General George Washington's life was saved by two Sambo black people. This man should have been dead way before he became president of the United States. According to Who's Telling History, they'll have you believing that George Washington never told a lie and his dentures was made of wood. So they say. Dr. Robert Darnton has heavily documented George Washington's life, along with others who are willing to tell the truth about history. Dr. Darnton wrote a book called George Washington's False Teeth, an unconventional guide to the 18th century. He speaks about George Washington's teeth was made from slaves. This guy was no different from the rest of them. He was no hero. He was a rapist, a murderer, and a pedophile just like the rest of them. Which brings me to this point. Why would two black people save his life when there was a sure plan that he was about to get poisoned? The night before the Revolutionary War, George Washington was supposed to eat some poisoned peas. A black man named Sam Francis owned a tavern where George Washington frequently met with his people. Okay, the British had an inside man on him, and he was able to infiltrate their crew. The man name was Thomas Hickey, who was a spy. He came up with a plan to poison a large pot of peas, which was George Washington's favorite food. Thomas Hickey poisoned the pot of peas with a green, no smell, no taste substance. And Thomas Hickey thought he can trust the two black people, so he filled them in on the secret. But see, he had to fill them in because they were the two that had to prepare the food. Then Sam Francis' daughter informed George Washington of the plan. So the night of the dinner, everything went as planned. Everyone received their peas, including George Washington. Then George Washington stood up and smiled at Thomas Hickey and tossed the peas on the ground so the chickens could eat them. The chickens ate the peas and they died instantly. Then Thomas Hickey was snatched up and he was hung in front of a large crowd. So I guess this was a case of Stockholm Syndrome. Or do we call them sambos? Do we call them coons? Or is it psychological? Many studies in the field of psychology and sociology explain psychological slavery based on an incident which occurred in 1973. Two robbers entered a bank in Stockholm, Sweden. They had guns and dynamite. They took 4 hostages, 3 women and a man, and they held them for 6 days. Now, after their rescue, the hostages showed a very strange behavior. They showed gratitude towards their captors, and they actually tried to protect them. The women became emotionally attached to them and even raised funds for the legal defense for the criminals. They were out there actually campaigning for these dudes. And this is what they call Stockholm Syndrome. But this occurs pretty often. You see this with abused children, with battered women. Any forms of physical or emotional abuse, you will see this. There's a deep psychological attack on the brain when it comes to the field Negro and the house Negro. And even today, we still have the field Negro and the house Negro. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. And let me know what you think in the comment section.
I have to say this, and I'll sit down. Back during slavery, when black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They'd send some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And he loved his master more than his master loved himself. That's why he didn't want his master hurt. If the master got sick, he'd say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?" He was as sick as